I just filmed a tutorial on this look for you. So if you want to see how I did it and what products I used, just keep on watching. Thanks! Okay, so I just did my eyebrows and primed my eyes with MAC Soft Ochre Paint Pot. I didn't film my brows just because they're the same as my other videos. I'm still using Dip Brow, but this time I used medium brown because I did go darker with my hair. So that makes sense. Today I'm going to use the Lorac Mega Pro 2 palette, and I'm just winging it because I have no idea what I'm about to create here. So that makes it a lot of fun. But as always, I always have to set my paint pot with something else, or usually if I don't, it's really hard to blend, and the paint pot's like a little tacky. So I just take a big fluffy, just regular eyeshadow brush. This one happens to be angled, but you can use anything that's gonna just pick up a lot of product and put it on your lid. So I'm gonna be using this color Custard, and it looks like this, and it has like a nice yellow tone. If you want to go more on the pink side of things, or just like neutral, I would say, you could go in with Porcelain. I just pat that right onto my lid, making sure I get all the little corners and everything else. And I go all the way up to my brow bone. You don't have to, but I find that that helps set the concealer that I use to clean up my brows too. My transition color, I'm actually going to use this color, and it's called Sorbet. I think that's how you would pronounce that. Sorbet. On a really fluffy blending brush, so one like this. Something similar would be a E40 brush from Sigma, but this one is just a Soho one I got from Big Lots. But I really like how big it is and how loose the bristles are, so they're not dense at all. So I'm just going to pick up Sorbet. I'm just going to insert that right in my crease, but I'm really not being precise with the placement of it at all. I'm just kind of throwing it all over my lid. But I'm avoiding like this little area because I want to keep that bright. Okay, and now that I have that transition on there, I'm just going to put this brush away or throw it on the floor. I'm going to take my Sigma E35, and this is called a tapered blending brush. So there's how the label looks. And that's how the tip of the brush looks. Let's go with Tawny. And Tawny looks like this. It's a little bit warmer than Sorbet, definitely. And I'm just going to dip my brush in there and then do basically the same thing, but this time I'm focusing lower. I don't want that product very high like I did Sorbet. And see how that deepens up the crease so much already? Just adds that drama. And I'm just blending in circular motions. I'm not doing anything crazy. I'm like alternating between like a windshield wiper, like this, and then little circles. And bringing it all the way into the inner corner here. Just make sure that's all nice and blended. You don't have any marks or anything like that. So if you don't know where your crease is, just take your brush and kind of like pop it wherever, and usually you'll see that it really gets in to a certain area on your eye, and that's where you find your crease. That's where you want the deepest of colors. Okay. I'm going to be using the 217 from MAC. This one's pretty old and it's dirty, but it looks like this. There's my worn off handle. But it definitely can get in that crease, and if I use it horizontally instead of vertically, I can swipe stuff like right in the crease. And since my bristles are a little bit blown out here, it blends itself basically. I'm going to take this color called Burlap, and it's right next to Tawny. I'm gonna put that right on my 217 here. Horizontally, right in that crease. Still keeping my brush horizontal, but I am doing small circular strokes just to blend that. Going all the way into the inner corner too. And now I'm gonna take this little travel size brush, but it works just as well. And this is the shader crease brush from Sigma, and it's the E47. And I like because the bristles are slightly blown out, and so they can blend a little bit. So it's not just like a flat brush that you can't really blend with. And then I'm gonna take that in the color Goji. I think that's how you say it. I have a really hard time pronouncing things. Put that right in my crease. So right in here. Just kind of making a line. Do you hear my cat right now? And since that's not really blended out like at all, I'm taking my 217 again and just blending the edges of that Goji color right back out. That blended right out that little harsh line that I had in there. This is the Too Faced glitter glue, and I'm just gonna take a little dot of that on my ring finger and put it right where that negative space is and just pat. You don't want to wipe because you want this to stay tacky, and I'm gonna do one eye at a time just so I get that wetness from each side. So I'm going to go in with Seashell on just like a flat shader brush like this and just pack it right where I put that glitter glue. See how bright that is? That's crazy. I'm going to wipe off my brush, get all the excess pigment off, and just blend. I feel like I want this to look a little bit more goldy because what I was going for was like more of a fall thing. So I'm going to take the color Gold Leaf, and that is right here, and it's just the gold color in the palette. And I'm just going to brush that on the outside with the same brush and just kind of pat it on top of that seashell color. Like that might tone things down just a little bit. I'm going to take that color Moonlight that was right next to Seashell, and so it's right here, Moonlight, and pop that in my inner corner. So for eyeliner, I like to use the NYC liquid liner, and this is just the black one. I don't know if it comes in any other colors, but I always make sure, especially with this liner, that I'm wiping off the excess. I want as little as I possibly can get on this brush before I put it on my eyelid. So I'm just going really carefully and really close to my lash line. And just making a nice line. From beginning to end. So for foundation, I have been using L'Oreal Infallible. But before I put my foundation on, I'm gonna mist my face with this Smashbox primer water. And this is a fairly new item. So I'm gonna use it. I don't really know how much. That always seems like a good amount though. So that's the primer water, and I'm just gonna wait for that to dry. It does not take long at all. And in my more porous areas, I'm going to be using Professional by Benefit, and this is just a little sample size. I don't think I've ever bought a full size of this because it used to come in everything, all over their packages. So I'm putting that around my cheeks, my chin, around my nose, and this little eye area just to smooth things out, and then right in the middle of my forehead. I'm going in with L'Oreal Infallible, and I have shade 101 and 102 here. I just take like a good amount of 101, normally that kind of size, like a quarter-ish, and then just a little dot of that. And then I just take one of my brushes and mix them together on the back of my hand. And just remember to wipe it off so you don't make a huge mess somewhere. Then I'm just taking my Beauty Blender and melting that right in. And just putting that right on my face. I like a whole lot of coverage. So my Beauty Blender is really wrung out. So there's not like a whole lot of moisture left on it. Just so I get a good amount of coverage. And I'm going to be using, this is the Maybelline Master Conceal, and this is the shade Fair. And I'm just taking a little drop like that. And the pointy end of my Beauty Blender and dipping that right in. And then going in right onto my eye, the lower part. And I'm just kind of dabbing that on there in a triangular shape just to brighten up this entire area, because under my eyes are really dark. You don't want to really get in too much to the shape of your eyeshadow, so what I do around that corner where I put all that product, I just take the side of my Beauty Blender and pounce it, and it usually diffuses that really nicely. I like to get really close to my lower lash line. A lot of people don't. But I figure even if I'm going smoky with it, I want it to be the most concealed so you don't see any mixture of colors with my like lower lash line darkness and the color of the shadow that I'm going to put underneath it. That's nice and brightened again. You want to work with your concealer so that you get the least creasing as possible. So that means having the least amount of product where that creasing is, but you want enough to cover it, but not too much. So it's really tough balance to find. It really does take practice. And this is the Secret Brightening Powder, and I just picked this up, and that's why it's like one of my newer products. But I'm just using that to dip right into the powder and bake my under eye. So for baking, you want it to be dramatic. You want it to look ridiculous. So this is basically the process. So I look ghostly. And this powder works excellently for baking because I'm finding that like my sponge is actually picking it up because it's a really finely milled powder. I don't have to worry about it being chunky, so it makes your skin super smooth. So I'm just using this powder. It's called Airspun, and it looks like this, and it says translucent extra coverage, and it does have like a perfumey smell to it, and it says translucent, but it does have kind of some color to it. So I'm just going to take this flat top powder brush from e.l.f. and kick that up in the powder and just set my face with it. Don't forget to get your neck either. I'm going to grab my Anastasia contour kit, and this is in the light, this is the light shade. And I'm going to take just like an angled brush, blush brush kind of, and put that right into that middle color. I believe this one's called Fawn. You can tell I love it because I hit pan. And I'm just going into the hollows of my cheeks. You can find them, of course, by making a fishy face. So right there. And I always do my forehead. Now I'm going to take this small contour brush from Real Techniques. Looks like that. And I'm going to take it into this warmer shade on this side. It's called Havana. And I'm just going in circular motions just to blend that right in. This is a really strong contour. Whenever I have trouble blending my contour out, if I went like a little too strong or something, I always take this other brush. I'm pretty sure it came in the same kit, and this is the Real Techniques buffing brush. And I just take it and literally buff it. And there you have that. Much better. Now I'm just going to take my powder brush and wipe away that bake. And it's nice and bright, just the way you left it. I don't need it. I don't need it. I already have champagne pop. I don't need it. And then I was like, I need it when I saw it because of this pearl shade. And I was like, oh, that is like holy grail for someone as pale as myself, and it would just go great on everybody. So basically, I just take this brush. It just looks like this. And this is like my definition of a true duo fiber. So what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to dust my brush very lightly in both of these shades. Give them a good mix. And just tap the tops of my cheekbones. And then brush it. And that is like the most gorgeous thing. I'm just going to add a little bit more pearl. And what I do is I tap it the side of my brush like this, and then just tap it right onto my cheek. And then if I want a more diffused look, I just take those tiny little white fibers and brush on. Now I'm just taking my my ring finger and just mixing the two with my finger, and then I'm just gonna go right down the bridge of my nose and then tap on the bottom as if it was a little ball. That gives you such a pretty highlight on your nose. And then I always just diffuse it. I'm just gonna take straight pearl for my lip. And then I'm gonna go in with champagne pop and pop it right in the corners of my eyes. And I just used my fingers for half of this. I am going to use these shades that were in a Tarte holiday collection. And I'm just going to go in with this peachy one here. And I'm going to use this Tarte blush brush. I think this is the one they said was a blush brush. Tap off because these are super pigmented. And then just brush that very gently. He's not in pain. He's just being a freak. And that just brought me to life. And I'm just going to take this tiny little pencil brush. And I'm going to go back into that tawny shade here. So you remember that one. And just go on my lower lash line. Really just open that up. Look how much better. Also, I'm going to go into that goji color that we put right in the crease. Right there. And just get really close to my lower lash line. using a couple coats of the Tarte Lights Camera Lashes. This is the sample size. I actually like the sample size better for some reason. The brush is no different, but I don't know. I think it's less product gets on the brush. And you could be totally done with your eyes after you put your mascara on, but that's completely up to you. I'm going to use this ColourPop Ultra Matte Lip. It looks like this, and this is the color Trap. And I'm just applying it right on my lips. So we just did like a warm eye, and now we're doing like a cool lip. There you have that. So me personally, I'm just gonna add some lashes just to add some drama to the look, just because, you know, why not? So I'm going to be using Kiss number 11s, and they just look like this. I just think they're super pretty. So I'm just going to let those lashes dry a little bit more, and I think I'm just going to apply a little bit more blush and a little bit more of a darker shade just to go with this lip. So I'm going to go in with this like purpley color here. I'm just going to take a little bit of that and just brush it onto my cheeks. And there you have it.